Hi, today I'm going to speak about something called intimate infrastructure. And that's our strategy for high density development, but that's done at a human scale. So the name itself is about this contrast of tackling big scale issues and small details at the same time. For us, this means increasing the supply of housing, but also creating the types of homes that people really need and the types of places that people actually want to live in. And this sounds like this would be obvious, but there is a huge amount of regeneration that's happening, and it's not necessarily helping with the housing crisis. We looked at East London in particular for our study, but our observations could apply to many places, in that there's a lot of generic development going up, form of towers, that could be almost anywhere. And they're creating luxury flats which are unaffordable to most people. There's no connection to the street, no sense of place. It doesn't support building strong communities or urban vitality in public life. So we asked, is there another way to use the land that we have? Can we do high density, but A, avoid the high build cost of high-rise, and therefore making different types of sites more viable, or different types of projects rather? And can we use a smaller scale model that's more conducive to human nature and people's behaviors and interactions, and all the things that make really great places to be? And we see this sort of done or working really well in cities like New York and Barcelona and Paris. And actually, London's really low density in comparison. So can we look at these cities and learn from other successful areas? Something else that's really important for me is the idea of a home, not just making units that are sold as commodities. Thinking about how people actually live and their quality of life as well. Because at the moment, this isn't necessarily what's driving new housing. I'm going to massively generalize now, but usually it might be economic objectives kind of first, and then maybe social infrastructure kind of gets put in via the planning process, and then people are offered homes in a format that they don't necessarily want. That's if they can even afford it now. So the intimate infrastructure approach is actually about reversing this and putting human value back at the heart of housing so that we create places to fit people and not the other way around. We believe we need to combine top-down and bottom-up thinking to be able to address city-wide issues as well as people's needs, to be able to make big-scale change and not lose the finer qualities that make great places to live. So following this intimate infrastructure approach, we looked at people's needs more closely, and we're in this situation where many are being priced out of home ownership completely, i.e. generation rents. So you have young professionals and others that are sometimes ending up in quite bad living conditions. And we also thought about low to middle income families who are being pushed out of London due to gentrification. And you do kind of think, what kind of city are we going to end up with where are normal people actually going to live? So based on these groups in need, we created a toolkit which is made up of two parts. There's the kind of intimate scale of the home and looking at a house, and then the infrastructure scale of looking at a neighbourhood or block. At the intimate scale, we're proposing two new house types. One is a purpose-built shared house for private renters, and the second is a new type of townhouse for families. So diving right into our shared house, we've got big sort of double-height communal space for people to come together, interact and connect. But also privacy is really important, particularly when you're sharing. So we've got bedrooms that are divided by blocks of en-suites to give that separation, and you also get your own bathroom, which we thought was important. Our second house type is based on London's pattern of streets and squares. We think the urban life that this creates is really great, and we're using this strategy to put more permanent residents and families at ground floor level to create a kind of ongoing sense of community. This house type takes a similar formula of principles as the shared house, but it's applied in a different way. So we still have double-height spaces for people to interact, and then privacy between bedrooms, so separated by a stair and service core. Both house typologies could be modular and prefabricated, mass-produced quickly and at a low cost. Onto the larger scale sort of infrastructure principles, and this is for doing high density, but also building communities. Firstly, we think it's really important to mix house types and tenures, so you're providing for people at different stages of life and incomes. Secondly, we're proposing a series of shared spaces that allow people the opportunity to interact if they wish. And it's based on ideas from co-housing, where you get a little bit less private space, but then you get access to a huge amount of shared communal space, like a courtyard or spaces for social activities. This happens at different levels as well. So up high, there are communal roof terraces and large double-height spaces, which could be anything from shared workspace to a sort of party room. But the point of these in-between spaces is that they allow for different types of people to come together and meet by chance and build that sense of belonging and connection. It's also supported by a set of placemaking principles that I'm not going to go into for this talk, but it's to help make neighbourhoods that have got character and distinctiveness and sense of place. And at the moment, we're developing this initial model further to see how it could be applied to specific situations and conditions. So we're looking at mixed-use developments and also the possibility of whether this could be for a good model for intergenerational housing, so solutions for old people as well. So we're testing all these different scenarios at the moment, thinking about cost modelling this as well. But I'm going to end with going back to the key ideas that's driving the intimate infrastructure approach, which are thinking big and small at the same time, creating places to fit people and not the other way around, and doing high density but at a human scale. So we can unlock sites by making them more viable whilst making places we would all want to live in. Thank you.